studios in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Looking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Hope everybody made it through the weather okay yesterday. Grinding through another work week. First full work week of 2024. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines back there on the ones and twos. Over the next couple of hours, we'll hit our normal Tuesday staples. Glenn West talking Tigers, both football and basketball, coming up in 30 minutes. Sharie A on the New Orleans Saints and Pelicans in hour number 2 at 2:30. Some interesting sound yesterday from Cam Jordan, which we'll play in about 15 minutes, about the Saints culture and what's going on with the black and gold. Noah Cain has made it official that he will head to the NFL draft. LSU's got a basketball game tonight against Vanderbilt. I'll talk about that in hour number 2. So lots and lots to motor through here over the next 2 hours on the Hunt Palmer Show. We start with the end of college football season last night. The Michigan Wolverines crowned national champions. 34-13 was the final over the Washington Huskies. And I think the score is indicative of the way the game went. I thought Michigan dominated the football game. They certainly came out and threw the first couple of punches, and I thought kept Washington at arm's length and really controlled the game. And that's why I think 34-13 is an indicative score. However, it's not necessarily indicative of how close the game was late, because Washington cut the lead to 7 with 9 minutes to go in the third quarter, and at that point had 3 different drives to try to tie the game. They got the stops they needed, had 3 drives down 7, the third of which produced a Michael Penix to Rome Odunze pass down inside the Michigan 40 that was called back for holding. But they could never throw that final punch to get all the way back. And then Michigan goes up 14 with 7:13 to play, and it kind of felt over at that point. I tweeted this out, so if you follow me on Twitter, you've already seen this, but I truly believed it as I was watching the game. I know one man who really enjoyed that football game last night, both from the result and the style. Les Miles. He's a Michigan man, played football at Michigan, started his coaching career at Michigan, and that's a guy who wants to block and tackle. And Michigan straight up blocked and tackled way better than Washington. They were the more physical team. They were the more sound team. They were the aggressor. And while it wasn't a work of art, it was dominant. I mean, certainly, Les could appreciate a 34-13 national championship winning performance where the starting quarterback went 10 of 18 for 140 yards and no touchdowns. Sound familiar? It looked familiar to me. And that's what it was for Michigan. I mean, Michael Penix was under pressure all night long. Michigan whipped the Joe Morta winning offensive line. Texas didn't. And Texas has 2 guys that might go in the first round of the draft on the defensive front. And they could not consistently pressure Michael Penix. Michigan did. And then when they didn't get there, Penix was just inaccurate, just missing throws. I thought the first drive, when they drove down in there inside the 10 and had third down, he could have completed that one. He threw it a little high and left. Certainly, the busted coverage that produced Odunze running wide open on a fourth down that he just missed was a poor throw. Sometimes those are a little bit tougher because you don't expect a receiver to be that wide open, and you're kind of throwing to the open space as opposed to where the route's designed to go, and Odunze couldn't turn around and make the catch. But Penix was just not very good. And that happens sometimes. Sometimes the lights get the brightest, and I'm not saying he was nervous or jittery. I'm just saying he didn't play well. And Michigan had something to do with that. And what do we talk about? The Michigan defense was producing takeaways all year long, and Penix had thrown 9 picks entering the game, and he threw 2 more. One to start the third quarter, just a backbreaker and a wonderful play by the Michigan DB, who got his hands on it, then lost it and re-corralled it on the way down. And then Washington got to third downs and was just completely feckless. 0 for 7 on third downs in the second half for the Washington Huskies. 0 for 7. Now, I have to throw a caveat in there because sometimes stats, if you're selective about what stats you use, you can paint a different picture. But Michigan was only one of 10 on third downs themselves for the game. But they ran the football and ran the football and ran the football, and Washington couldn't run it at all. One, Johnson was hurt, and they kept him out there, which one of the guys in my group text said, hey, Coach, can we maybe go to the second running back here? He may or may not have had a couple of nickels on Washington. I keep saying Wisconsin, on Washington. But they only ran the football for 2 first downs in the entire game. It was Penix trying to throw it, and that was all night. He threw it 51 times. And Michigan just turned around and handed it off and handed it off and handed it off. 38 carries for 303 yards and 4 touchdowns. In an era where we're spreading the field, we're scoring points, getting it in space, chucking it around, spread offenses. Michigan did spread the field a little bit, but they were going to be physical with it. And they handed it off, and they just pummeled Washington, certainly from the start and certainly at the finish. There was a time in there where Washington held their own and allowed them to get back in the game. But Michigan, a deserving champion. And I said all year that I didn't know necessarily that there was a dominant team, which is why I was looking at some of the teams around the country and going, I wouldn't mind seeing them in the playoff. I was excited to maybe see Florida State get in there. I didn't care if it was Washington or Oregon. That made sense. That would be fine. Texas was fresh blood in this thing. And Michigan is a deserving champ. They ran the table. They out-physicaled Ohio State. They went out west and took it to a Bama team that wanted to be every bit as physical. They won that game up front, too. They whipped Alabama's offensive line. And then here comes the best quarterback they had seen. Wouldn't necessarily put Jalen Milroe in that category, not throwing Kyle McCord in there just yet. Penix is legit. And they flustered him. And this is the top of the mountain for Jim Harbaugh. A guy that was so maligned the first half of his tenure in Ann Arbor because he couldn't beat Ohio State, couldn't win the big game, was doing goofy stuff with the satellite camps and drinking the milk and the sleepover at the high school recruit's house. He was kind of a punchline for a while there. And as I talked about yesterday, they cut his salary in half. That doesn't happen. That does not happen. In fact, most guys get massive checks and get told to leave. You don't take a pay cut to stay. But they did that after the COVID year. And all he's done since is rattle off 3 in a row against Ohio State, 2, and then one when his interim was there. And then finally climb that mountain at his alma mater. It was a heck of an effort. I was impressed watching it. And I'm torn. I am torn. It's best in this medium to come on and give a firm opinion and back it up with your facts. That's the best way to go about a talk show. It's the most compelling way. And I try to do that when applicable, but I'm not going to fake it. I'm torn on championships in college football based on TCU showing up last year and doing what they did, and then a 21-point victory in this game for Michigan over Washington. Talked about this yesterday. I think of college football as kind of the haves and have-nots, and you can't really break the barrier. You're either Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, LSU, Oklahoma, Michigan, Georgia, USC. You're either in that conversation or you're Mississippi State, Cal, Boston College, Virginia, Arizona State, Purdue, Kansas State. And I'm rigid in that belief. And last year, leading up to that game, I was like, man, TCU, they just keep winning. Nice job. They beat Michigan last week. Like, they got a good quarterback. Like, I think and then they were non-competitive. And I could argue that Washington was not competitive in this game. And that they don't really belong. And that what do we need a 12-team playoff for? Because we already know there's only like 4 teams that can do it, maybe 2. And then I want to go to the other side and go, nah, Washington was pretty good. I like the idea of the 12-team playoff. Washington can beat Michigan. It'd be hard to argue that TCU could beat Georgia. I'm not going to go there. But Washington, I think, could beat Michigan. But neither team was able to break through and prove me wrong and say, hey, it's not just the haves and have-nots. You get the right coach, you get a good quarterback, a couple of dominoes fall your way in development, and you get Roma Dunze. You can break through and win this whole thing. I guess that remains to be seen. And we'll get far more teams with a crack at this next year. You'll get 8 more. And some of them will be have-nots. There won't be 12 halves in the playoff next year. And maybe a sample size that goes 5 or 8 years will change the narrative. And a Washington or a Michigan State or Texas Tech or West Virginia breaks through and they actually have a team that's good enough. Because some teams have knocked on the door. Cincinnati knocked on the door. TCU knocked on the door. If they're Washington, Michigan State in that category. But eventually the door gets slammed in their face.
It kind of reminds me almost of how college basketball is, where every year there's always the blue blood teams that make it to the tournament and usually make it to the Sweet 16, Elite 8, or Final Four. And typically the higher tier programs will win the national championship. But every year, every now and then, you have a team where it's surprising.
Yeah, VCU, Butler, Florida Atlantic last year. Wichita State's had some teams that have made some pushes, but ultimately, when you finish the whole deal,
right,
it's Villanova or UConn or Duke that's figured it out. North Carolina, and in that situation, when they're asking you to win 6 games, it's tougher to do that. In football, in this case, they're only asking you to win 2, and then next year they'll ask you to win. I guess you'll have to win 3 next year. So there are comparisons, but it's not apples to apples. Again, I think, and this goes back to my point that I don't have a firm stance on this, but I think I lean towards Washington could do this. Like, I think I lean towards they could win the national championship. You got to have the right quarterback, and you've got to have enough guys who weren't necessarily the highest profile recruits that you developed into a really good team. But again, it's just much easier to use the mountain of 4 and 5 stars and first-round picks, which Michigan's got a truckload of, and Georgia does, and Bama does, and Clemson does, and Ohio State does, and LSU does, and we know how that goes. It's easier to do that, and you know you can get to the top. But last night I thought was a great end to what I believe will be the Jim Harbaugh era in Michigan. I think he came there to do a job, very much like LeBron back to Cleveland, and that job is done. And then you go on and conquer the next thing. I don't think this is a deal where Jim Harbaugh is gonna turn down these job openings. There's some attractive ones. 2 places, one place he played for the Chargers. Titans just came open. Like, I feel like his time in Michigan is done, and he climbed the ultimate climb. And so the question here in Baton Rouge is, well, if he does move on, what about the whole Brian Kelly rumor thing? And I would agree with Bruce Feldman. He certainly knows and has sources, and I'm just looking from the outside in. It feels like the offensive coordinator would be the natural fit. They would just promote him. That's the interim head coach when Harbaugh missed 6 of the games this year. That feels like the next guy up at Michigan. But I guess we'll see when we cross that road. All right, Michigan wins at 34-13. That is the final. When we come back, I thought fascinating sound from Cam Jordan yesterday about the state of the New Orleans Saints. We'll get to that next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
The storms blowing through yesterday can knock your power out pretty quickly. That is a massive inconvenience at the very least. You can protect yourself from power outages with Boudreaux's Electric. Neil Melissa Boudreaux, 40 years operating Boudreaux's Electric. They're a certified Generac generator dealer, a premier Generac dealer. That means they're in the top 3% in the country. For just $5.20 a day for the life of that 10-year free warranty, you can have the peace of mind of knowing, hey, my power's not going to go out. Maybe you work from home. You need power. Some of these afternoon showers come through and knock your power out for 2 hours. You're out of commission. Can't have that happen. Maybe you've got a kiddo. You can't afford to have a 94-degree house when you've got an infant in the house. All situations are different. Boudreaux's Electric can fix them all. Give them a call, 225-300-9389, 225-300-9389. That is Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
His name was King. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luber for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. We're recapping the national championship game and Saints looking ahead to 2024. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Glenn West, go 24/7 with us in about 10 minutes, talking Tigers, LSU, and Vanderbilt tonight, 8 o'clock inside the PMAC. I'll give my preview to that in the top of hour number 2. But I wanted to talk black and gold here. Of course, the Saints come up just one game shy of the NFL playoffs, and so now the organization's got to self-evaluate, figure out where to go from here. And part of that is the players meeting with the media one final time before they head out for the offseason. And Cam Jordan did so, and I thought some of the things he had to say were thought-provoking at the very least, concerning potentially at the most. And so we'll listen to this first cut from Cam Jordan about the leadership in the organization.
Last 3 years of missing the playoffs has been 9-8, 7-10, 9-8. That's not good enough. At minimum, it has to be a 10-win season, right? Whatever gets you to the playoffs. If leadership is not what it needs to be, leadership can change, just like players can change.
That's an interesting way of phrasing things. When you say if leadership can change, if it needs to change, it can change just like players can change. So you're splitting out leadership and players there as two separate entities. And so that to me just means he's talking about the coach. That to me suggests that may be a guy or maybe a locker room that doesn't necessarily believe in the coach. And we'll get to another soundbite from Cam Jordan, but that phrasing struck me when I heard it. And Jeff Duncan, who's reported on the Saints for decades and has a lot of tight sources inside that organization, tweeted this earlier today. Some segments of the Saints locker room splintered when adversity hit this season. Team officials are evaluating how that happened and what should be done about it. Monday's meeting was to set the tone for the offseason. Are you in? If not, you'll likely be out. And that is so concerning from a culture issue. The Breeze Payton Saints seem to be such a strong, cultured team. And we do know that during that one little 3-year blip in that era, there were some culture issues. And they shipped Junior Gillette out of town. They shipped Kenny Stills out of town. They shipped Jimmy Graham out of town. So it is fixable. But forgive me if I don't necessarily want to put Dennis Allen and Derek Carr in the same breath as Sean Payton and Drew Brees at this current juncture. I'm just not there. And Cam Jordan played with Drew Brees and Sean Payton, and he's now playing under Dennis Allen. And he was asked on Monday, okay, well, does the team trust Dennis Allen?
Does this team believe in DA? I mean, DA is our head coach. So as long as that is the same sentence, it's going to be the same sentence. Of course, we believe that we're going to get our things together.
That is far from a strong affirmation. Cam Jordan is really bright and has been around the NFL a long time and has always been a really good soundbite and a guy that reporters could go to get quality information or sound. And he knows what he's doing in front of a microphone. This is not a college freshman yapping. This is not somebody that thinks they're talking to their friends on social media and all of a sudden it blows up. This is a guy who knows he's speaking to the masses. And when he gets a question, do they believe in DA? And he repeats the question, one, which is gathering yourself to figure out what you're going to say. And then two, says, well, he's the head coach, so that's the way it's got. I mean, that to me suggested no. That's what I took from that. I believe Cam Jordan saying, not really, but he's the coach, so it is what it is. This goes deeper than I thought. I thought they just played poorly. It feels like that locker room split, and I just don't see Dennis Allen as the personality that's going to unite it. I'm sitting in a studio on Government Street in Baton Rouge. Hadn't been in an NFL locker room my entire life. I don't cover the team day to day. I don't know any players on the team. I have no sources. This is purely an opinion from 30,000 feet, just taking the information that's readily available to the masses. What I thought was just an underperforming team with a below-average head coach, an injured quarterback, and an aging roster is all that. And we're getting reports from Jeff Duncan and reading tea leaves with Cam Jordan going, yeah, this whole thing broke down this year. I don't know how Mickey Loomis and Dennis Lauscha and Gail Benson can hear these things and look at the results over the last 2 years and suggest we're right there. We're so close. We just got to keep this together and keep moving forward. Hit on a couple of draft picks, find that free agent here or there, stay healthy, we're there. How could you look at this? You're 500 over the last 2 years in an atrocious division You've got what sounds to me to be disgruntled players in a dysfunctional locker room, and the results aren't even any good. Like, you're hearing things from Ann Arbor, like some people are sick of Jim Harbaugh at this point, and the act is tired. They're winning at least. There's something to there's deodorant there that can help. What are we looking at here? 9-8, taking out Tyson Bagent, getting a big win over Desmond Ridder. And again, this is not some hothead rookie. This is a guy that might wear a gold jacket one day. At the very least, his name's going up the top of the Superdome in Cam Jordan, who's the face of the organization post-Breeze. That just seemed so pointed. And look, you're talking about a guy who routinely comes on this show and says, I'm not that concerned with things I hear in a press conference. Like, most of the time it's coach speak, half-truths, being coy. But sometimes somebody gets rolling. And for Cam to answer those questions the way that he did made my ears perk up. As a guy who's been in press conferences and been in locker rooms and done these types of interviews, 8 out of 10 are pretty docile and don't have a lot of bite. But every once in a while you get the 2 that you feel like you can really draw something from. And to me, that was one of them. And then you add on to it the fact that Jeff Duncan is putting this report out. It's just not good. I don't mean to get on here every day and just drag the Saints. And it's not really my intention, but I am going to tell you how I feel. And there's just not a lot of positivity. Again, you can try to sell me on it. They won 4 of their last 5. Carr got healthy and played a lot better. Brazee showed some flashes, and you're good at wide receiver and corner. And you can try to talk me up, but there's just too much noise around it and too much substance in the results of 2 years to sway me right now. Maybe I'll hit that football calendar up and down that in August all signs are pointed up, and I'll come back around in 8 months. It just doesn't feel like that. And it does appear, as Mike Vrabel was let go in Tennessee, actually did a good job there. We'll see if there's a change made in New England, see what Chicago decides to do. Chargers are still in the market. There's going to be some movement in the NFL. Just doesn't appear that very much of it, if at all, will be in New Orleans. I think that's a bit of a bummer, but we'll see. That's my thoughts on the New Orleans Saints. If you're looking for all of our Saints content, you can always find it, Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Subscribe to that channel. Casey does an awesome job cutting up the segments, like 10, 12-minute digestible videos, and they'll be right on your homepage if you subscribe to Hunt on Saints, our YouTube channel. We would certainly appreciate that. Throw us a like, a little comment, review. All that helps us get our content in front of as many people as we possibly can. We thank you all for doing that each and every day. All right, let's take a time out, come back with our Tuesday staple. That's Glenn West of Go 24/7 next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Jeep Grand Cherokee, $10,000 off new Jeep Grand Cherokee, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Countryside, I saw him ride. One day they found him.
They can lead to an unexpected kitchen renovation.
Yeah, hi. Is this the zoo? Your leopard is in my kitchen.
Bundle your home and auto with Progressive for great savings and round-the-clock protection.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Cut through the static and listen to 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge in high definition. Simply tune to 98.1 and select HD2.
You've heard about it? We've got it. Semaglutide. RejuveMeMedical.com.
On Wednesday's OTB, the first flustering of the new year as Matt Flynn and Jake Hester return. Plus, review the college football season and where LSU will stand going forward. We'll give you the latest in the Saints drama and Pelicans. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Set out of the Jim's Firearms Hotline. So we'll find our guy Glenn West, Go 24/7 senior writer with us every Tuesday. Glenn, how are you?
Doing well, Hunt. How are you?
Doing quite well. How big a deal is Bryce Underwood's commitment to LSU?
Oh, I mean, if you just look at the numbers, I think it's probably one of the biggest commitments that LSU's ever landed, just in terms of rating. I mean, he's a 99 rating right now on our services, and that would put him ahead of practically every commit that LSU's ever gotten if you look at the all-time commits list. So, I think this means a number of things on a number of different levels for LSU. I mean, obviously, offensively, what it does is it, and continues to hammer home the point that, this is going to be a quarterback school going forward. And, 5-6 years ago, that really seemed like that would never be the case. But, what Joe Burrow's done, what Jaden Daniels has done, obviously with the development of some of these guys over the years, and just the ascension of that position has really set this offense forward and into a new era here where I think you can certainly lean into and expect high-level quarterbacks to want to come and play in this offense. You look at the impact that young coaches on the staff that are ascending, like Joe Sloan and Cortez Hankton, have had on this offense, and certainly the pitches that they make to recruits like Underwood about what they can do in this offense. I think that it just it means that that's in a really good spot, and they're going to obviously go into 2024 here, leaning into Garrett Nussmeier and seeing if they can't, develop from within, in terms of just having a guy that you recruited as a freshman and has been able to be patient and stay with you throughout his career, and see if you can't get him some really big-time success in 2024. And then you look at kind of what this room looks like in 2025. It sets you up for the next 3-4 years at the quarterback position, and obviously that's a monumental accomplishment to have that kind of confidence and that kind of just kind of safety net there. You kind of have the most important position on the field locked up for the foreseeable future.
Think of the Blake Baker hire.
Yeah, another really big swing from Brian Kelly. He recognized Baker very early in the process as the number one guy, and really went after him. I mean, you don't spend $2.5 million on a coach if you don't really want him to come to your school. And look, I think the Louisiana element is going to be certainly talked about, and that was something that I went back and listened to Blake Baker's first interview when he was as a linebackers coach in Baton Rouge in 2021. And one of the biggest points that he said is that he missed recruiting Louisiana. He missed recruiting these kinds of kids to the program, and I think he's going to certainly lean into that. What he's done at Missouri the last 2 years has been nothing short of spectacular, taking a defense that was ranked 133rd in the country going into his first year as coordinator and turning it into a top 25 group in terms of scoring and total yards this past year. It's a big time hire, and I think if you're Blake Baker and you come in here and you're able to turn this thing around for LSU's defense over the next couple of years, then you're going to be on the short list of a lot of head coaching gigs. A lot of big time programs are going to be looking at you to come lead their teams as well. So I think it's a mutually beneficial agreement here, and now we'll just see how they kind of go about filling out the rest of their staff. But certainly like the hire, and you like that LSU wasn't afraid to spend big to get the guy that they wanted.
Who's the offensive coordinator going to be?
I would imagine that they promote Joe Sloan or Cortez Hankton. I would imagine that they keep it kind of a co-OC kind of deal. I thought those two worked really well together in the bowl game, and of course that'll probably come with some raises and some bigger titles and whatnot. But you've got to keep those guys on staff. And I think the easiest path to doing that is to promote both of them, or just kind of switch up the titles for them and make one of them the OC and maybe add an extra title for another. But I would expect that both of those guys are going to be kind of the architects of the offense this year, and that's going to be a big opportunity for both of them. Joe Sloan obviously has a lot of play calling experience from back at his days at Louisiana Tech. It really seems like the last 2 years they've been really grooming him for this position in the event that it became open. And he's a young ascending coach with a lot of talent and certainly a lot of recruiting chops to go along with it. So I'm going to be very excited to see when that pops. But I think that's probably the easiest route, the most the most kind of consistent route that I think Brian Kelly could go in keeping a good chunk of this offensive staff together.
Glenn West, our guest, senior writer, Go 24/7, all your recruiting and team coverage. They got you covered over there at Go 24/7. Switch over to basketball. How surprised were you on Saturday night?
I was a little surprised. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I was watching the first half, and I was thinking, all right, this is going to be one of those kind of games where LSU seemed to lose it in the first half because they couldn't make any baskets when Texas A&M was struggling early. But man, they just took the physicality to Texas A&M. They did an amazing job on the offensive glass. I was listening to Matt McMahon's post-game presser after the game, and he said that if he were a betting man, he's not even sure he would have betted that LSU would have out-rebounded Texas A&M on the offensive glass. So that was a pleasant surprise for him, and certainly for LSU that they were able to win the rebounding battle. But look, I think the bigger overarching takeaway here is that I think this team's going to be able to be competitive. Does that mean they're going to win 10, 11, 12 conference games? No. I think that they'll probably be in that 5 to 7 or 8 range, and depending on just kind of what they look like on a night in, night out basis, I think you could get into that 500 range as a ceiling for this group. But they're going to be competitive, I think, most nights, and I think that's kind of the next big step that you wanted to see, is just show that you can be competitive in this conference against most of the teams that you play, and certainly you've got a chance now to go 2-0 and start this thing really, really strong with a game against Vanderbilt tonight. So we're going to be out there covering that one, but very good start for Matt McMahon here in LSU. Getting Jalen Cook back can't be understated enough. I think their offense just looks so much better when he's running things in the half court and able to get other guys involved.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I mean, they've played better since Cook showed up. Is it just his contributions, or have you seen anything else on the floor that would indicate why the results have been a little bit better over the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's certainly been Cook, but even Cook hasn't shot the ball extremely, extremely well since he got back. I think you're seeing kind of his influence on what he can have on the rest of the roster. Guys like Jordan Wright have played really, really well over this last 4 or 5 game stretch as well. Obviously, an SEC Player of the Week for his first game against A&M, had 20 points, 10 rebounds. But you got Mike Williams stepping up every once in a while. You got Tyrell Ward getting some corner threes. I still think you need to find a way to get Will Baker going a little bit more consistently in these games. But you're seeing different guys show up on different nights, and that can be kind of a blessing in disguise. I think teams can't really prepare for 1 or 2 guys. They might have to prepare for a couple guys that they know that can get hot, and so I think that can certainly work in LSU's benefit here going into conference play. But I think it's going to have to start with Jalen Cook and continuing to get him ingratiated into this rotation and certainly reaping the benefits of what he can do as a playmaker, not only for himself, but for his teammates as well.
Got a key for tonight against Vanderbilt. The Doors, not a great team at 5-9 coming in.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think probably the biggest thing is just get the ball inside, attack the rim. That's when this team's been at its best, is when it's attacking the paint and getting to the foul line, attacking the boards. They haven't been exactly a great three-point shooting team, but I think they're getting a little bit better from beyond the arc as the season's gone along. But their bread and butter is going to be attacking the rim, getting to the free throw line, and making things happen offensively that way. And defensively, they've been really good on the perimeter. I think they've really improved as a perimeter guarding team. And now you just want to see that carry over in some consistency here tonight.
Glenn, we appreciate some time.
Yep, thanks, Don. Appreciate you.
Glenn West, senior writer, Go 24/7, covering the Tigers. We talk football with Glenn, basketball with Glenn. We're a few weeks from talking baseball with Glenn as well. Speaking of baseball, I'll be out at LeBear's tonight, a big fundraiser that they're putting on, a dinner, night of champions with baseball. I'll also be out at Plucker's Sports Trivia tonight at 8:30. Very much looking forward to that. We'll have LSU and Vanderbilt on, so if you're not going to the game but would like to watch it, come on out to Plucker's, play some sports trivia, win some gift cards, drink some cold beers, eat some wings, watch basketball, and enjoy the Tuesday evening. So, again, even though LSU is playing a home game tonight, I'll be at Plucker's Sports Trivia tonight at 8:30. Looking forward to it very, very much. Let's close things out here in hour number 1. Talking LSU running backs, had one make a decision to go to the NFL draft last night. That's next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. Man, new closet. Could be awesome. But you got to make the call and go to OneBathAndClosets.com. They customize closets to your individual needs. So you can see pictures of the great work at OneBathAndClosets.com. Not only are they functional and customized to your unique needs, they also are aesthetically beautiful. David Vaughn and his team do fantastic work. So whether you need extra room because you got a ton of shoes, or loved one in your life has a ton of shoes, or you got suits that you got to wear every day, maybe you got winter coats. I don't know why you would need those down here. Maybe you got some. You just don't have a place to put them. One Bath and Closets can make that change. You're thinking, not a great time to pay for that right now. Financing options are available in One Bath and Closets. Just go to the website, request a free consultation. David Duvall and his team will come over. They'll start you with a questionnaire, see what you got, what you need, see what they can do, and then they'll make it work in terms of numbers with their financing options that are available. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. See the testimonials, see the pictures, get that free consultation at OneBathAndClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail.
Sandgrove joined me and Jimmy out for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from the original walk-ons, Burbank and Nicholson. Wes Reynolds with us, along with Scott Rabelais and professional sports handicapper Randy McKay. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Wednesday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
If you'll remember back in August when we were talking to you about the different position groups for LSU football, running back was comically deep. In fact, they had 8 scholarship guys at running back. Not necessary, but it was the actuality. And now, all of a sudden, you fast forward 6 months, and LSU's kind of thin at running back. Trey Bradford's time in Baton Rouge is done. Armani Goodwin has decided to move on as well. John Emery's eligibility is out. Noah Cain yesterday announced that he's going to declare for the NFL draft. Logan Diggs has entered the transfer portal. Now, all of a sudden, you kind of look up and you go, well, you got Caleb Jackson, got Trey Holly, got Josh Williams back for a 6th year. Williams came in 19 and redshirted. His redshirt freshman season was 20, but that doesn't count. So he's played 21, 22, 23. That's 4. Got one more. So all indications are that Josh Williams will return, and he'll have Caleb Jackson and Trey Holly. And then you go into this class, and you signed Caden Durham, who looks to be a potential star. And so your numbers are a little bit more condensed now. And you know what? It's probably better to have more, but at LSU, I'm just used to having a dude. And he's your bell cow guy. Darius Geis was that. Leonard Fournette was that. Now, Darrell Williams was here and was certainly helped there, but Jeremy Hill was the guy. You had Kenny Hilliard, Michael Ford, like back there behind him, but Jeremy Hill was the guy. I wouldn't mind if LSU had a guy this year. Now, I'd prefer it be Caleb Jackson. I sit there and I watch him in the bowl game, and I'm like, God, can they get this guy some touches? He got 2. And he turned them both into big plays that were eye-catching. And I would love it as a second-year player if he kind of came into his own. And you have Josh Williams there to take a few carries, be a situational back for you, can certainly handle all the duties on third down. Trey Holly's a very interesting prospect who had a big run this year. Obviously is decorated a high school player as Louisiana's ever produced. State's all-time leader in rushing yards. And then you bring in Caden Durham and see how up to speed he can be. Because that talent is intoxicating. But you don't really need 8 running backs. You got 4 guys you trust, that'll work. Caleb Jackson, Josh Williams, Trey Holly, Caden Durham, I can play with that. And you put him behind that big, veteran, talented offensive line, and I think LSU's offense is gonna lean on that pretty heavily. Certainly far more heavily than they did this past year, where, as you'd imagine, Jaden Daniels led you in rushing. He's a 1,000-yard rusher. He's won the Heisman, so I'm not going to complain too much about that. But I do think that LSU's running backs are going to be featured more heavily next year. That's almost obvious and goes without saying. But I do feel a little bit better about the passing game, having seen Garrett Nussmeier do what he did in the bowl game. I think before the bowl game, I was a little apprehensive going, I think Nussmeier's pretty talented. He might be a pretty good player, but if he's not, and he's a middle-of-the-road SEC quarterback or maybe a tick below that, like, they may have to run the ball a ton next year. And I don't necessarily feel that way anymore. I think Garrett Nussmeier has enough skins on the wall, enough time in the program and talent for me to surmise, like, okay, he's gonna be a pretty good SEC quarterback. They don't have to have the running game prop him up. He'll be okay. And so now I look at the running back room and I say, the numbers aren't great, but I think the talent is coming right along. Because I think you look at that group and you see Caleb Jackson and you see what Caden Durham could become. Those are dudes. So Trey Bradford moving on, Armani Goodwin moving on, Noah Cain moving on, John Emery moving on, Logan Diggs moving on. That's 5 guys. Now it's time to trim that room down and up the reps for some of these guys. And I personally would like to see Caleb Jackson get a healthy workload right out of the chute against USC in Vegas next year. That's a name I'm going to talk about a lot in August. Probably going to talk about him a lot in like March and April too in spring ball. Because that talent is something. And there was something keeping him from the field. And Frank Wilson has done this for years. He understands how to manage running back rooms at LSU. Something was keeping him from the field. I hope whatever that is gone come Labor Day weekend. Track star built like a Jeep Wrangler. Get in the rock. Those are my thoughts on running back at LSU. If you're looking for LSU football content, we're still going to keep rolling through it. They're going to hire potentially offensive coordinator here coming up. They got defensive staff replacements they've got to make. We'll be talking a lot of LSU football over the next few weeks. Hunt on LSU is our LSU football channel. It's all LSU football. No basketball, no baseball. It's football, recruiting. That's it. If you subscribe to the channel, All those videos will populate right there on your homepage. Make your LSU football content easy to get to. Subscribe to Hunt on LSU. Moving right along here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. If you missed any of the first hour, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. All of our shows are archived there every single day. It's Off the Bench, Live at Lunch, Hunt Palmer Show. After further review, they're all there at 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. Also, Google, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you find your audio video, you can find us. Like and subscribe. Search Hunt Palmer Show wherever you find your audio. Open things up. Talking about the college football playoff national final last night. Michigan Wolverines are the champs. My thoughts, and one guy that I think really enjoyed the game last night. Segment 2 was about the Saints culture, and the sound from Cam Jordan, not a huge endorsement of Dennis Allen, to be quite frank, and so I dove into that. Glenn West to Go 24/7 was with us as well, so go catch all that on demand. When we come back after SportsCenter, LSU 1-0 in the conference, first place. Vanderbilt's coming in. We're talking about it after SportsCenter. Come back with us on the Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Jeep Grand Cherokee, $10,000 off new Jeep Grand Cherokee, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. There is now a 6th NFL head coaching vacancy. The Titans today fired coach Mike Vrabel. After arriving in 2018, Vrabel, the 2021 NFL Coach of the Year, led Tennessee to 4 straight winning seasons, but each of the last 2 finished multiple games under 500 and went a combined 1-8 in the AFC South. ESPN NFL analyst Jeff Saturday.
I think from Tennessee's perspective, they see everybody in the division getting better, young quarterback, and you're not. And like you said, whether that can be attributed to Braves or not, doesn't, there's no not enough blame to go around, I guess.
Jeff Saturday on Carlin versus Joe. Steelers star linebacker T.J. Watt ruled out of Sunday's wildcard game against the Bills with a knee injury. Coach Mike Tomlin optimistic safety Minka Fitzpatrick can return from his knee injury. Quarterback Mason Rudolph will continue to start. Dolphins signed linebacker Justin Houston to their active roster. Miami at Kansas City in Saturday's AFC wildcard game, dealing with season-ending injuries at outside linebacker. NHL Devils star center Jack Hughes upper body injury out for weeks.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Wednesday, I'll tell you which wild card matchup I'm looking forward to the most and why you should too. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2 on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Sharie Ishak, bottom of the hour, talking Saints and Pels. Get Sharif's thoughts on what Cam Jordan had to say yesterday. And I gave my thoughts in the first hour. Didn't find it very encouraging at all. But we'll see what old Sharif has to say coming up at 2:30. Tonight, inside the PMAC, 8 o'clock tip-off for LSU and Vandy. Tigers are red hot coming off that win in College Station against A&M. That was a good performance. It really was. They're not throwing their bouquets yesterday. They earned it. Yes, A&M did a very, very poor job of shooting, but they do that a lot. When they do that, they generally get on the offensive glass. LSU did not allow them to do that. A&M only had 3 second-chance points in the entire game. They lead the country in offensive rebounding percentage. So I thought that was really impressive by LSU, and they didn't turn the ball over too much against an A&M team that does a good job of turning teams over. So I thought LSU played very well on Saturday, and they have played better since Jalen Cook showed up. How many league wins that translate to? I can't tell you at this point. I laid it out yesterday. I thought the low end would be 3, 4, 5. I thought realistic would be 6 or 7. And if they were to get to 8, 9, 10 wins in league play, that would be overachieving their talent level, in my opinion. But it's so early. We got a ton of basketball to play. Remember, last year, LSU started conference play with a win over a very highly touted Arkansas team. And then they went up to Kentucky and played them really tough at Rupp before kind of the bottom fell out over the course of January and February. So you got to keep it going. You don't get any points on the scoreboard tonight for what you did against Texas A&M. But the good news is I believe the worst team in the league is coming to Baton Rouge tonight. The record would back that up. Vanderbilt's 5-9 this year. They lost their conference opener to Alabama. Their wins this year for Vanderbilt, they beat UNC Upstate by 7 and UNC Greensboro by 4. So the directional Carolinas have no chance against Vanderbilt this year. Heck of an effort. Directional Arkansas don't have a good shot either. They beat Central Arkansas by 4. Alabama A&M, not the Crimson Tide and the Aggies, just Alabama A&M was a 19-point win for Vanderbilt, and they beat Dartmouth. Kind of an academic duel there between Vanderbilt and Dartmouth. 16-point win for Vanderbilt. That was a lot of tongue-in-cheek there, but they've had some bad losses as well. They lost to Presbyterian. They lost to San Francisco. They lost to Western Carolina. Like, it's been rough. Now, they've been a little bit better of late. They played Memphis to a 2-point game. Memphis is very good. They played Alabama to a 3-point game on Saturday. Bama's pretty good. So I don't mean to point out UNC Upstate and UNC Greensboro and Presbyterian and San Francisco and Western Carolina to suggest that LSU is just going to walk all over Vanderbilt. I, in fact, would be surprised if LSU walked all over Vanderbilt. LSU right now is not in a position to take anybody in the SEC for granted, and Vanderbilt is included in that, although they are 5-9. Statistically speaking, this is not a Vanderbilt team that is very good. Their offensive efficiency is 233rd in the country. They don't play particularly fast, 255th in the country in possessions. Their shooting percentage is 320th in the country. 320th in shooting percentage. And it's not like they're dominating the offensive glass. They're 239th in the country in that category. So you're talking about way down the line in all those offensive categories. Defensively, are they a lot better? No. Efficiency, 193rd in the country. They don't block a lot of shots, 272nd in the country in block shots. There's not a statistic you would point to anywhere on the page that I'm looking at and go, oh, they're in the top 40 in the country in that. Nothing. Now, Jerry Stackhouse, in his time at Vanderbilt, when I watch Vanderbilt play, and I've watched them a lot over the Stackhouse era, they run good stuff. Like, they look competent in their motion offense with their screens and their dribble handoffs and their cuts. They get isolations, and it looks good. He just has not had the talent to compete in an SEC that over the last decade has elevated itself to one of the best leagues in the country. You have to have players, and Stackhouse has not gotten them consistently. And that point remains. They're just not uber talented. Ezra Manjon is their best player. He is their point guard. He is a truly unique player in the league. Nobody in the SEC plays like Ezra Manjon. What do I mean when I say that? Well, he's 6 feet tall, so he's undersized, but he's averaging 16.5 points per game. And usually, if you've got a 6-foot guard who's averaging 16.5 points per game, he really does a good job of shooting the three. Well, Manjon doesn't even try. He's attempted 24 threes on the season, and he's made 9 of them. 3 of the 9 makes this year were in one game against Dartmouth. You realize, like, we've played 14 games. He shoots about 2 a game and is a reasonable shooter. He is trying to drive, attack, distribute, and kind of set the offense up. Last year, he led the SEC in assist-to-turnover ratio. This year, he's 8th in the SEC in free throw attempts. He's 6th in make. He's the best free throw shooter in the SEC. Quite simply put, if LSU is able to stop Ezra Manjon from driving and penetrating and creating for himself and for his teammates, Vanderbilt doesn't really have another option. He's where it all starts for them. He's the assist guy. He's the points guy. He gets to the free throw line. He makes those. But he's not going to hurt you from deep. So the question is, can Jalen Cook guard him? And then if you put more layers onto it, if Jalen Cook is asked to guard him, then does he get in foul trouble? Because that's Manjon's game. Puts pressure on you off the bounce, gets into the paint, creates compromised situations for defenders, draws fouls. If Cook goes to the bench because he's having to deal with Manjon, LSU's not the team they need to be. I just told you that they've been much better since Cook played. Maybe you put Mike Williams in there and have him guard him. Maybe you put Trey Hannibal in there and have him guard him. And you get Jalen Cook off the ball, say, hey, we don't want you dealing with him. Spend your time a little more focused on the offensive end of the floor. The other guard is Tyron Lawrence, 6'4", senior guard. He was a starter for him last year, started 34 games. This year, averaging just under 14 points per game. He's been pretty good. The post players are very average. And I would love to say that I thought LSU had a good advantage there, but Will Baker's been very average to this point. Now, maybe Derek Fountain and Jalen Reed can get a little more involved and do some scoring around the bucket for LSU. But most of this has gone through the perimeter guys, namely Cook. LSU, I'm told, is an 8-point favorite in this game tonight. That seems a little rich for my blood, quite frankly. course, they covered that with ease at A&M on Saturday, and we're, again, talking about a team that lost to Presbyterian and Western Carolina, so maybe I shouldn't feel that way, but I do. I think this game will be tight tonight. I think that it's going to come down to the last 4 minutes, was what I would guess, because that's how most of LSU's games against inferior competition have gone. And hopefully LSU's got the guys to make a couple plays late. This is a game LSU really needs to win. Really, really needs to win. Because while the league's not a juggernaut, like, it is tough. And you can see a scenario where losses can pile up for this LSU team. If you can't beat Vanderbilt, then you got to go to Auburn next Saturday, coming up on Saturday. You saw what they did to Arkansas and Fayetteville. And Auburn Arena, not a fun place to play. I think it's Neville Arena now. Then you play Ole Miss, who was undefeated before Saturday. Then you got A&M coming back in here. They'll be in a bad mood. You go to Georgia, who just had a big win on Saturday, crushed Missouri. You're at Bama, Arkansas, at Tennessee. You're not going to win that game. Bama again, at Florida. Then you're at South Carolina. Like, it's when LSU was a perennial tournament team, I could look at some games on the schedule and go, well, they'll get that one. South Carolina and the PMAC, they'll be fine there. You got Vanderbilt coming in, they'll be okay. They'll win that game. And at that time, Missouri wasn't very good. They're like, you could find the games on the schedule that LSU was going to be fine in, and they were going to win. I can't necessarily do that as freely with this team. This is the one. This is the worst team in the league on your home floor. You need to take care of your business. We're talking about, and I think everybody's on the same page with this team as far as there's a big picture here. There's not sky-high expectations on this LSU roster. We're looking big picture at the program. And when the dust settles, we'll have a number on the left side of your SEC record. What that is determines kind of the outlook on where we're going from here. And it's hard to add to that number. You got a chance to tonight. Vanderbilt's not good. Guard Ezra Manjon. Don't get crushed on the glass. Knock down some shots and take care of your home floor. Tip-off's just after 8 o'clock inside the PMAC. You want to listen to it, you can also do that on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. John Brady and Chris Blair will be on the call. Pre-game will crank up at 7:30. LSU and Vanderbilt tonight from the PMAC. All right, take a time out. When we come back, the Saints are being rumored to bring in somewhat of a controversial figure in the league. I'll give you my thoughts on that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louise. like cypress stumps. Your roots are planted deep inside of me.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated.
This weekend for wall-to-wall football as we have all 6 playoff games. We start off Saturday afternoon with Browns-Texans, then all day Sunday before wrapping things up Monday night with Eagles-Buccaneers. Catch all of those games right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Sharie A with us in about 15 minutes talking Saints and Pels. I want to talk a little bit of Saints here. Rumors hitting the Twitterverse and wherever you want to find your rumors, rumor mill, that the Saints may be interested in reaching out to John Gruden to come in and work with Derek Carr in the offense. Now, Derek Carr had some very successful seasons under the tutelage of John Gruden. We know that John Gruden and Dennis Allen have a relationship that goes back. And strictly in terms of the relationships, this makes a ton of sense.
And I think Gruden did come in during training camp and provide some assistance. I don't think it's officially working for the Saints, but he did come in.
Sure, and so that makes all the sense in the world. You've got an offense that was a little stale much of the year. You may be looking to make a change there at offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, whatever the case may be, wherever Pete Carmichael fits in. And John Gruden would make a lot of sense. The Super Bowl winning coach who was a head coach in the not so distant past. So that makes a lot of sense. But obviously, you're going to have to weigh in the off-the-field baggage and what ultimately got him fired with the Raiders. And that is the emails that he sent that were uncovered in the investigation into Washington. And John Gruden sued the NFL 3 years ago about all this. And according to Pro Football Talk, I don't have a copy of the Las Vegas court docket with me, so I'm going to go with Pro Football Talk. Tomorrow, John Gruden's case will be heard. It's going to be televised. There will be a 3-judge panel, and there will be a decision made on John Gruden's future and relationship with the NFL and whether or not this case is going to be heard. It was filed in November of 2021. If Gruden wins, the case will be handled by a new judge because the one that's handling the case tomorrow is going to retire. And then we'll see where things go from there. But this thing's going to be, it's going to take a while. This is not imminently going to be determined. And so the Saints have to determine whether or not they want to bring John Gruden in amidst all this. I won't claim to have read every email that was uncovered and what John Gruden had to say. I know the basic tenor and tone of what he had to say in private emails. And quite frankly, if every single person's private conversations were leaked, I think a lot of people would be painted in a different light than they currently are. I'm not totally excusing it. I'm just suggesting how I feel about that. If every text message you sent and every email you sent and every group chat conversation you had was uncovered and combed through, how would that look in the public eye? And so for me, what I know of what John Gruden had to say would not disqualify him from employment for life. That's my thought. And if I'm the New Orleans Saints and I think he can help me win, I don't have a problem with hiring John Gruden to come in and be involved in whatever capacity that may be. Quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, senior analyst, special offensive assistant, whatever the case may be. If you think he can help, I'm okay with it. There are plenty of things you can do in this world where I would say, no, absolutely not. Don't need that person involved at all. Having your personal emails combed through as part of an unrelated investigation and then seeing some things that should not have been said is not going to qualify for me as a lifetime ban. So, to me, I'm looking at a Saints offense that needs a fresh coat of paint. I'm looking at a guy who's got a relationship with the most important player on the offense. I think it's a fine idea. Do I think it's the greatest idea ever to bring in a guy that's got some baggage here and is suing the NFL and has a lot of wires crossed? No. I'm not banging the table saying you have to do it. I'm just saying it's okay. I'm not gonna throw a fit if you want to bring him in here. But again, I have no idea what this lawsuit is going to bring, and I don't think anyone does. Maybe we get some clarity tomorrow, but I don't think we're going to get any finality tomorrow to this. So it just hangs out there. And if you're talking about a organization like we talked about in the first hour that's got some cracks in the foundation and there's not great culture, bringing in additional baggage, is that the best idea? But if you think he can help you win and you've got a role carved out for him, sure. I think we're all curious to see what the Saints are going to do on the offensive side of the ball. The assumption from all of us is that there will be some changes made. I would doubt you're going to bring back the band on offense. You're going to have to figure out what you're doing with Thomas, Kamara, what's Ramchick's future, and some of that's got to shake out. But as far as the staff goes, you would have to imagine there's some significant thought given to changing things up. Now, the Saints were better down the stretch, and certainly were very, very good on Sunday in the finale. So, again, as we try to get inside the heads of the Saints brass that seems insistent upon keeping the path and straight and narrow and keep pushing forward and not changing too many things up and not rocking the boat or ruffling the feathers or whatever metaphor you want to use, maybe that's how they see it. Well, we're getting better. We're close. It's just not how most of us see it. So we'll see if anything, if that rumor, quote unquote, has legs. The groomers, remember that? College football every year. Going to get Gruden coming in Knoxville. Maybe coming to New Orleans. We'll just have to see and see what the result is of his hearing coming up tomorrow, according to Pro Football Talk. Tonight, if you're looking for something to do, Plucker Sports Trivia is always a great option. We'll be out there at 8:30, Nicholson location, LSU basketball at 8, so we'll be watching the basketball game throughout trivia. So a fun time. Bring a team, come by yourself. You can win Plucker's gift cards. You can eat some delicious wings, drink some cold beers, watch some basketball. It's an enjoyable Tuesday night. I'm looking forward to getting out there, so come and see us at the Nicholson location at 8:30. It is Plucker's Trivia. What does Sharie think about the Saints hiring John Gruden? What does he think about the Saints not making the playoffs and keeping Dennis Allen? What does he think about the Pels? Got to talk to Sharie Fischak coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hey, look what I found! The motivation I needed to live healthier. My new favorite sport.
I found my groove.
I found I'm part fish.
My second win when I needed it most.
I found more than a gym.
The affordable childcare this mom needed. Time for myself. We found our why. Have you found yours?
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. We're recapping the national championship game and Saints looking ahead to 2024. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Some interesting things going on in the 504. Let's bring in our guy to talk about it, Sharie A from WDSU. Sharie, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing amazing.
I'm so thrilled to hear that. I sense the sincerity in your voice. Best performance of the year by the Saints on Sunday?
It was until the post-game press conference. I thought it was great. Dennis Allen had a chance to, build some points to the fan base, the players, and then it all got thrown out of the window as soon as he threw him under the bus.
I gotta admit, because everyone has this take that Dennis Allen's throwing his players under the bus and it's all Dennis Allen's fault and he looks like an idiot and everybody I saw it a different way. I thought that the Saints probably should have just ran a play or just not go out of the victory formation and do it. But clearly I'm wrong because everyone feels the same way. I mean, what's the reaction down there to what Dennis Allen had to say and to the touchdown, I guess?
To the point, I do agree with you that Dennis should have called the play and gotten Jamal Williams a touchdown. He told him no, and then I think they just said, well, you know what? Jamal's worked so hard all year, we're going to give him a touchdown. I mean, because I think if they would have lined up, he would have called a timeout.
Yeah.
And I think they still would have done it again. They would probably would have lined up until they had no timeouts left. I think they want to give him a touchdown. Look, the only people who are mad are the coach who got fired and the coach who apologized to the coach who got fired. None of the Falcons players are mad. I think they knew it was coming. And you can see on Twitter some of the former Falcons players like Osi Umenyiora, who picked up a touchdown in 2018. He could have fallen to the ground with the Falcons up by 9 with 30 seconds left, scooped up a Drew Brees fumble and ran it all the way back. He said, I see no problem with it. I just think the only people who are mad about it are the people who are talking about it, like us in the media, and maybe like some coaches and some former players who are like the Saints are going to get theirs one day. I'm like, no, they're not. It's football. It's a rivalry. It's supposed to be petty. It's Saints versus Falcons. That's what this is supposed to be. People don't remember what the Falcons are doing to the Saints in 80s and 90s, running up the score at will at times and just saying, oh, well, they're wrong for this one. I'm like, no, they're not. It's petty. It's fine. I'm good with it. I don't care. I mean, it's kind of getting tired. I'm tired of talking about it, but it's actually kind of fun to talk about it too. But
I mean, the Falcons players at that point, they're down 41-17. They are an hour and a half from flying back to Atlanta and then going to Cabo. They're checked out with 2 minutes to go in that game. I don't think they care. Arthur Smith is just cranky, I think, because he knew that his time was up.
Well, it all could have been avoided if Arthur Smith wasn't throwing the ball with a minute 30 left in the game, down 24 points with his third-string quarterback. It all could have been avoided, but he decided to throw the ball, and Tyrann Mathieu decided to, just do what he was supposed to do, and he could have returned it, but it looked like he was in on the plan. So.
Okay. I didn't realize that. Okay. Did they find something on offense and defense late in the season? Are they win 4 of their last 5?
I told you this was going to happen before
the
Buccaneers game. I told you this was exactly the scenario that would happen. They would win the final 2 games. Give credit to Derek. Derek Carr and the offense played their best game of the season. They found something offensively. But it's this team is still missing a lot of things. 17-game season, that offensive line did not hold up right. Derek looked great when the pocket was clean, but if he goes against an aggressive defensive line, athletic defensive line, and he folds under pressure at times. He doesn't know what to do in the pocket, just throws the ball away. They need to figure things out offensive line wise. But big. If we're just talking about the 4 of the last 5 games. Yes, they did find something offensively, but there's still things that need to be had with this offense. The line and the running game wasn't really that great for the entire season, but they found something offensively. Defensively, the takeaways were great. The pressures and sacks, not so much. That's another area they need to address. The edge, they need to find somebody who can get to the quarterback. They need to get younger. They need to get faster. That's for both sides of the ball. Younger, faster, more athletic. It's just hasn't worked out for the last few years.
You think Pete Carmichael's back as the offensive coordinator?
It's the Saints. Loyalty is number one for the Saints. But if you run it back and you don't change anything, and it's Doug Marrone is the scapegoat because Trevor Penning couldn't play, it's not a good look. I mean, look, the last 4 or 5 games were great with the offense. I just don't see. I just do not see Pete Carmichael coming back. That's just my opinion. I think most of the offensive staff will be gone, if you ask me.
Do you think John Gruden's going to be part of the offensive staff?
That's such a messy situation. I mean, I understand like all the stuff that he, did and is going through with the NFL. Just the way the organization is going right now, I wouldn't do it. I understand the attraction to it. Like, he's a tough. Let me tell you something. They hire him. You're going to talk about a Dennis Allen who is not, a talkative, outgoing coach versus a Sean Payton-like coach who is a very aggressive guy, big personality. So you're going to be having clashing personalities on that sideline. And I don't know. It almost feels like Dennis will be looking over his shoulder the whole time. That's what this is going to make Dennis do the entire season. So if they hire him, I'd assume it to be in an offensive role or an assistant head coach role if that's the direction they would head in. Offensively, I don't know if the game's passed them by. That's the question that the Saints have to ask themselves if they do this. Has it passed them by? Is it a good hire? Is it worth it knowing all the off-field stuff that he's gone through?
We'll have to see. We talked about it back there in the last segment. I particularly was interested in Cam Jordan's comments about the trust in Dennis Allen and whether or not there needs to be change in terms of what's gone on the last 3 years. What did you make of it?
I think it was a little taken out of context. I don't think it was necessarily aimed at the coaching staff. I think it was named that he was talking about the leadership in terms of some of the players and himself, DeMario, Derek, any of the guys who are captains, Tyron, that are leaders. If there needs to be a change, then make the change. That if we aren't doing a good enough job, then maybe there needs to be a change in leadership. And he's frustrated. Look, the guy's been on the team since 11. He's gotten as close as 2018 to the Super Bowl, and he hasn't made it. Frustrating year for him. He's been injured, dealing with the ankle injury, only had 2 sacks, maybe his worst year in his career because he could not get the sack numbers and the pressures and everything he wanted to do. And when you get to this point of your career, he wants to get to the playoffs, and that's the one thing he mentioned. I just want the first step is getting to the playoffs, and missing it for 3 straight years, he knows it's unacceptable. And I understand the whole culture thing, and they want to the number one thing I think they are trying to get away from is this isn't 2009 anymore. They have to put that to rest. I think a lot of people in the organization sometimes think they're still living in that 2009 era that, we should be in a Super Bowl every year. Great. That's great to say it, but you ain't doing it. You're not even getting to the playoffs. You're not even close because you just keep doing it to yourself. And I think that's part of Cam's message. We have to change that culture. We are no longer the 2009 team. We are what we are today. And right now it's just not good enough.
Yeah, I guess that is your answer to my next question, but how do you view this season now that it's over?
It's a failure.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just one, and I think everyone in the locker room would tell you it's a failure. If they don't, then it is disingenuous. They had the easiest schedule in the NFL. I think it's the 8th easiest schedule based on win percentage since 2001. And every team, I think that who had the easiest schedule, the 10 easiest schedules since 2001, made the playoffs except for the Saints. So, yeah, it's a failure. You absolutely whiffed. You whiffed this year with the easiest schedule in the NFL. I mean, that's just unacceptable. And this isn't just fan speak or hot take speak. This is player speak. This is they think they should be playing this weekend, and they're not. And it's a big disappointment for them.
What do you make of the rest of the division right now in terms of their franchises?
Utter disaster. An absolute mess. And David Tepper, bad owner.
Yep.
Who knows if he's going to get it right. The Buccaneers, they got lucky. Baker Mayfield had his best year probably in his career. If the Saints played like that the first time, we'd be talking about the Saints hosting the Eagles this weekend on Monday night. But no, the Falcons, who knows? They can't get it right either with a coach. They draft all these offensive players, Bijan, Drake, and they can't get it right. Kyle Pitts. that their organization is a mess. I mean, who knows if Arthur Blank will fire Terry Fontenot, who used to be here with the Saints.
Yeah.
We still don't even know that yet. If he's going to go after Bill Belichick, if he wants to leave the Patriots and make him the GM and head coach. It's just the one thing the Saints do have going, and I think people hate hearing it, and sometimes it aggravates me, is continuity and having, the same people in the building. But to me, sometimes that's not a good thing. If it's not working, you also have to make changes.
For sure. What's the big picture goal of the offseason? I know you mentioned get more athletic, faster, younger, that kind of deal. Is that it, or is it an offensive staff shakeup? And is it the future of Kamara and Thomas? I mean, what is the big picture?
You might be moving away from Alvin, Mike, Marshawn. Ryan Ramczyk might retire if his knee isn't right. I mean, you're talking about that 17 class. They may not be here. You need to find a way to better your team, and you have to use your assets. And it might be Alvin and Marshawn that, those are the assets they might have to use to get younger and get some better draft picks, because honestly, all they have is a 1 and a 2. Those are your best 2 picks, and they have a bunch of other 5s and 6s and 7s. But as we know, they're not hitting on those, really. They're doing better with undrafted free agents than in their mid to late round picks right now. So they have to, shake up the coaching staff. The defense. I'm fine with the defensive coaching staff. I thought they did an admirable job for the pieces that they had. I mean, when you talk about all the takeaways, awesome. But they, talk about sacks and pressures. You can only do so much with what you have, and they need to find a way to get younger, faster, more athletic on a defensive line. Offensive line, they've got to fix that, and they got to have a shake up the offensive coaching staff. They've got to get a new offensive coordinator. They've got to get a new offensive line coach. You essentially have to do an absolute overhaul of the offense. It was great for 4 or 5 games, but to me, I don't think it's sustainable for 17-plus games if you get into the playoffs.
Sharie A, our guest, WDSU down in New Orleans. Shift over to the Pels. They've won 4 of 5. Pels own Sacramento. That's a 33-point walloping out west. Your take of the last few weeks of Pels basketball?
Yeah, they've won 10 of 14. What they did to the Kings is what the Clippers did to them here a few nights ago. It's just basketball at its finest, man. NBA. Everyone plays Friday. They lose to the Clippers. Zion doesn't play Sunday, and they were up by 50 points in Sacramento. It just goes to show you how they just own them. You're right. They just absolutely own them. I mean, CJ McCollum has been the key during this 14, 15-game stretch. I mean, he has come out and he's shot the ball well, especially from downtown. I think it's 4 straight games. He's made at least 3 or 4 3-pointers in a game. So, I mean, their outside shooting, they have it. It's good. I mean, it's like any team. If you hit 3-point shots, you're going to win games. Then there are times where the Pelicans just struggle shooting. When they struggle shooting, it just looks like it's off. It goes from the free throw line to just outside. It just does not look good. But, man, I give them credit, man. They've done well. And this month of January is the month that they have to at least stay around 500 in this month. 15 games in this month. It'd be nice to go 8-7 or 9-6, man. If they do that against the competition, top 10 players, top 5 teams, man, that's promising. That's promising for them to get a top 6 and avoid the play-in.
They started that West Coast trip out with the huge win. You got Golden State tomorrow, and you've got Denver, and a double dip with Dallas on the road before you come back home for Charlotte. So it's tough. Obviously, Golden State's not what they have been, but Denver and Dallas can play. So they can tread water there. You can come home and got a couple winnable games there. So, Sharie, we appreciate some time, man.
All right, Hunt, maybe next year. Super Bowl here in New Orleans. Maybe the Saints will be in the Super Bowl in their own stadium.
I would like that. We shall see. Thanks, man.
All right, anytime.
Sharie A, WDSU, all things New Orleans, every Tuesday at 2:30 on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. We appreciate him for jumping aboard. We got one more segment to go. Play some Take It or Leave It. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Great. Your windshield cracked. Now what? Call Advanced Windshield. You have things to do. That's why they come to you. Advanced Windshield is the leading mobile, auto glass, and camera calibration provider in our area. Call 225-248-6788 or visit advancedwindshield.com.
On Wednesday's OTB, the first flustering of the new year as Matt Flynn and Jake Hester return. Plus, review the college football season and where LSU will stand going forward. We'll give you the latest in the Saints drama and Pelicans. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
Listen to all 6 NFL playoff games from Wild Card Weekend starting Saturday afternoon at 3:30. That will be the Browns at the Texans, followed by the Dolphins visiting the Kansas City Chiefs. That one will be later that night. Continuing Sunday at noon and wrapping up Monday night at 7:15. Go to 1045ESPN.com for a full schedule. Your home for the 2024 NFL playoffs and Super Bowl 58 is 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Fun show. Quick moving show here on this Tuesday. LSU and Vanderbilt on the hardwood tonight. 8 o'clock tip-off, 7:30 is where you can find pregame over on Eagle 98.1. Will be John Brady and the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. Tigers need to get that one if you want to hear my preview of the game. Top of hour number 2. Let's play some Take It or Leave It, Beck.
All right, first one here. Former Ole Miss running back Quinshon Judkins has committed to Ohio State. Judkins will be first-team All-Big Ten next year. Take it or leave it.
I can take it. I mean,
I'll
you
take
figure you got a pretty good chance at Ohio State of racking up some yards. They're going to be the best team in the Big Ten, generally speaking, them or Michigan. Oregon will probably be pretty good as well. So, yeah, I think there's a good chance of that. It's an interesting deal with Quinshawn. I think it's likely that some dollars and cents were involved here on the Ole Miss and Ohio State fronts, and I would say he upgraded. Ole Miss is a really good spot right now with what they've done with their roster and putting it together, and then you look at what they bring back at quarterback and Kiffin and all that. But Ohio State's a pretty good landing spot if you're going to leave Oxford. So good for him. Glad he's in Ohio State and not Ole Miss.
Hunt the red carpet host. Take it or leave it.
Gonna have to take it because you're gonna get it here in about 3.5 hours. I'll be hosting the red carpet at LeBear's tonight. Big baseball night that Ronnie Rance has put together. A night of champions. Roger Clemens going to be there. Jay Johnson, Paul Maneri, Kevin Gosman, just a ton of baseball luminaries, both from LSU and in the world of Major League Baseball as well. So I'll be there working the red carpet as I do, just a regular Kaylee Hartung here. We'll see how it goes. I've never done anything like it before, but we'll see. I'm told maybe there's some scotch involved, so we'll be
That'll
good
help
with that.
probably.
Yeah.
Mike Vrabel was fired by the Titans today. He'll be the Patriots' next head coach. Take it or leave it.
I will take it. I think there's a good chance. Vrabel's going to get hired immediately. That's a curious one. It's not like the bottom fell out there. He had really good football teams with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback.
Yeah.
They were physical. They ran the ball. They played good defense. Just feels like he did a pretty good job. I realized they weren't great this year, but you're in a quarterback transition, and that just kind of happens. So I'm not sure what they think they're going to do that's significantly better than that in Nashville. But Vrabel's really respected around the league. Obviously, he's played at New England's got a lot of relationships there. If Belichick is in fact done, and I guess we'd find that out here pretty quickly, it would make all the sense in the world for Vrabel to go right back there and work in what has been a really stable environment, one that he's been in before, and I think he's a really good coach. So that one doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
Hugh Freeze says he'll be calling plays for Auburn next year. No offensive coordinator required. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. That's what he's really good at. Now, I understand. I've heard multiple coaches talk about this, saying between the transfer portal and the NIL stuff and the recruiting and running practices and all the things that go into it, and there's just a lot that goes into running a day-to-day program where you're not putting yourself in position to script plays and actually call plays. There's too much on the head coach's plate to get that done. I can't remember who it was. It was just started being a head coach. It was somebody. It doesn't matter. They were in football. They had just become a head coach, and they said they thought when they were the coordinator, an offensive coordinator, that they were responsible for 45% of the team. And then they became a head coach and realized that the offensive coordinator is only responsible for 3% of the team because there's so much going on, and then just burdening yourself with play calling just makes that really, really difficult. But Hugh Freeze was an awesome play caller at Ole Miss. He had average personnel and turned out really good offense. I mean, if you're going to make Bo Wallace into a really productive SEC quarterback, that ain't exactly Jaden Daniels in terms of its skill set. So I
look at the guy that's coaching at Ole Miss right now. Lane Kiffin is calling plays.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it. It can be done, but it's just an extra thing. So apparently Hugh Freeze interviewed some people and was just these guys all suck. I'm better than all of them, which, hey, hat tip. If you realize that and want to do it, that's a good deal. I still would bet on Hugh Freeze at Auburn. I think he will produce some really good teams in his time there. Once again, he's not my favorite guy, but in terms of just recruiting and calling ball plays, he's pretty good, and I think that'll probably work out at Auburn. So that'll do it for Take It or Leave It here on this Tuesday. As I've reminded you, Plucker Sports Trivia tonight, 8:30 Nicholson location. We will be out there. LSU hoops and Vanderbilt tonight. I didn't pick that game. I do think LSU wins it in a really tight one tonight in the PMAC. Again, I just don't think LSU is in a position as a program, even though they played very well on Saturday, to say, oh, Vanderbilt 5-9, we'll just trounce them. A lot of teams in the SEC can say that about Vanderbilt this year, but I don't think LSU is one of them. They're going to have to play well tonight to win on their home floor against an SEC team. I think they'll play well enough to get it done. Give me LSU 74-70 in the PMAC tonight. Hopefully that's the case. We'll be reacting to it on tomorrow's show. Excited about tomorrow's show. We'll have J.D. Piquel on one more time talking all things college football. He was at the national championship game last night, so excited to get JD's thoughts on all of that and Jim Harbaugh drama. We'll see what else comes of the New Orleans Saints over the next 24 hours. You never know what's going on over there. There should be some movement in the National Football League over the next 24, 48 hours as coaches continue to get let go and moved around. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So plenty to get to on tomorrow's show. Very much looking forward to that. If you missed any of today's show, you can always catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's On Demand tab. All our shows are listed there every single day in their entirety. OTB, Live at Lunch, Hunt Palmer Show, AFR. It's all there on 1045ESPN.com. You can also find us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Google, and, of course, on YouTube. For my LSU football segments, Hunt on LSU on YouTube. Saints segments, Hunt on Saints. We were heavy Saints today. Had one segment detailing Cam Jordan's thoughts and his quotes about Dennis Allen that I found really, really interesting. We talked about the potential of the Saints to bring in John Gruden amidst all this cloud and the lawsuit with the NFL and all of that. And then we had Sharie A on talking about the Saints as well, so you can catch that all at Hunt on Saints in the coming days. Glenn West from Go 24/7 was with us. We talked a little LSU football with Glenn. Also talked about the LSU running back situation with Noah Cain moving on. What was 8, now down to 3 guys in the LSU running back group, but that's okay. We got a 4th one coming in here in this signing class. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further Review. We'll be back tomorrow, same time and same place. You've been listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 1045 ESPN.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.